Hey everybody, this is Jan Hatchett, your favorite jewelry lady, and today I wanted to show you one of my favorite quilts. This quilt is made a completely different method from any of the other quilts that I've made, and I made it using the instructions in Margarita McManus's book, Crazy Shortcut Quilts. And so I wanted to show you some of the details because this is a great way to quilt if you don't have space, you don't want to hand quilt, and you don't have space to have a huge quilt trying to put it under your sewing machine. There's nothing that I like better than sitting curled up with a quilt in my chair or on the couch on a cool night, and we're having a bit of a cold snap here after we've had some warm weather, and so it's especially nice after that. I happen to love this quilt. It was I made it out of a group of fabrics that were made to go together. It has the yellows and the sunwash reds and the blues. This is one of my favorite springtime summer quilts because of the fabrics that are in it. But you may notice that we've got these little lattice lines, these golden lattice lines and some golden stitching. This is different stitching than you would find on a traditional machine quilted quilt. This is done with decorative stitches. We have a feather stitch, and you can see that it's not always perfect. You have a herringbone stitch. You've got, let's see, where is it? We have a stitch here that looks like little asterisks going across. We've got a scallop stitch, a lot of different looks, and a chance to use some of the features that quilters rarely get to use on their machine. But the reason that we have these little lattice lines around the blocks is that these blocks were done with the method called Quilt As You Go. Now, the construction of the block had to do with the Crazy Shortcut method, and the decorative stitching had to do with the Crazy Shortcut method, but the actual connecting of the blocks has to do with Quilt As You Go. Each one of these blocks, and you can see a complete block here, up to this border piece, was a unit that I was able to quilt separately. And I quilted it and got it ready along with all of the other units in this quilt, and then used these sashing strips to connect them together. It adds an extra design element. I was able to emphasize this golden color. I could have emphasized the blue. I could have even used a dusky navy blue like in the edge of some of these flowers, and it would have given the result of a much darker quilt. I could have added in some of the pinks and sunwashed reds and changed the look completely. I did add borders on this. It was kind of experimental. I like the way some of them turned out. The stitching was much more difficult in the narrow, going across a narrow thing. On the back, you can see the stitching again. This is just a blue mottled fabric, but you've got those same lattice lines connecting front and back that allow you to connect these pieces together, gives them a great deal of strength, and adds color to the back. And you can see as I flip this over that it just goes all over the back with these little lines. And they don't always line up perfectly. This was a first attempt at a new technique, but this is beautiful, and I enjoy having it on my bed. Now, I'm going to spread it out for a second. We're going to stop the camera, and I want to kind of show you what the whole thing looks like. It's just a beautiful method of making a quilt, and I really encourage you to check out the book, and I'll have a link to it. This is Jan Hatchett, your favorite jewelry lady. We'll take one last look at this quilt, and I can't wait to talk to you again next time. Here's the whole quilt. As you can see, there's 16 blocks and a very fuzzy kitty cat coming to check it out. This is Delilah, and she tends to check out all of my quilts. But there's 16 blocks. Each block is unique. And then I used additional fabric leftovers from the blocks and some additional coordinating things in order to make the borders so that it would be big enough for a double-sized bed and the scrappy binding. So I hope you'll give this method a try.